All right, we are live. Greetings, fellow traders. Let me get this tweeted out here so everybody can join in. 1 second. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, let's see. I'm not seeing anything coming through yet. Hold on 1 second. Showing a clear window here. Is anybody seeing all this? Hold on 1 second. Okay, we're good. Good. All right, guys. Well, I hope everybody had a great weekend, and hope everybody's doing well and healthy. And wow, what a weekend! So we're gonna be talking about some interesting stuff, of course. So we'll be getting into the market here in a second, and we'll go through this week's topic. We're going to be talking about day trading pre-market data, using the pre-market levels to help us navigate through the intraday timeframes. And today we're going to be talking about the pre-market highs and lows. Before we do that, everything we're going to talk about is for educational purposes only and not investment advice. So please take a moment to review this disclaimer. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Good. All right, so let's check and see where we left off at the market, and then we'll go from there. So, wow, what a month so far on the SPX. We see the monthly chart. Obviously, the month isn't over yet. We still have basically 1.5-ish trading weeks left, but this is a nasty candle on the monthly chart right now. So we are below the 50 monthly moving average right here. This is your bear market line in the sand, and we've definitely crossed below that so far. So it all depends how we close this month. Obviously, anything could happen, right? If we get we've got big cloud over the market. This all started with the upper shadow right here, and then the coronavirus started coming out, and then it really started to hit industries and supply chains and everything like that, and it's really weighing on the market really heavy right here. So we're at the kind of the last line of support right here in terms of just like kind of technicals right here. We're at the monthly cloud. We'll see if that holds. But again, below the 50 monthly moving average is rough, and we're at the lower Bollinger Band too. So we'll see how that follows through. This was a key week last week. So we've talked a lot about here. This is the change in composure line right here. This is the 30 weekly moving average. Again, a major one right here. You can see when we closed with this inside candle below it. Right, we chopped around for about 6 weeks, and then we pushed down back in 2018 at the end of December before the Christmas reversal. Then we tested it a few times on the way back up to all-time highs. Then we got a very comparable inside candle here under the 30 weekly moving average and really pushed down hard off of it. Now, the week prior, we got a nice lower shadow off of that, which gave a little bit of hope, right? But they still couldn't get above these prior weekly lows, right? Back in the June 2019 lows right here in the March, right? So those were key levels, and they couldn't get above that here. Now, last week we couldn't close above the December lows, right? So we closed below that, and that was pretty ominous on the market too. Obviously, it's been really bad right here, but to finish a week here below these levels shows that the bulls could not get above a major, prior support level, where there's a lot of buying pressure here, a lot of demand. So they couldn't do that. So now it looks like we're probably going to be drifting a little bit lower into tomorrow, as we've already hit the limit down on the futures. Let's take a look at the daily chart. You can see here exactly what happened on Friday. We have this downward trend line right here. Here's kind of your macro downward trend line. Now we have this downward trend line here that we're unable to get above, and you can see on Friday was really the key day to at least try to get above it, and then see if we can confirm above it, and then get up to this next the macro downward trend line there, and we just didn't do it, right? So we closed below those December lows, and of course we didn't close below these right here, right? So there's a little bit of recent support that it tried to hold, but again, the futures are likely going to gap us below there. Now, if they came out with some news in the morning, because tonight they came out. Normally, last week, right, the Fed came out and said, hey, we're gonna do an emergency rate cut, and all that did was worry the market even more, saying like, hey, this stuff is worse than we thought, right? We ended up gapping down that week, so they tried to do it pre-market, right? They tried to do it after hours last Sunday to say like, hey, maybe they could rally the market here, and they couldn't do it. So this time they put out worse news, right? They said tonight that the U.S. government's unable to come up with, agree on a stimulus package, right? So that stimulus package is now kind of like the big thing. So now that's keeping markets down. So let's see if they come up with an agreement for that this week to try to rally the markets up a little bit. So we still have to be cautious with that, right? We have this essentially this Elliott wave move down, right? We have the wave 1 right here, wave 2, possibly wave 3. So if they do try to rally, it'd be wave 4, but again, it shouldn't get above the wave 1 low, and then we might see another sharp move down on that. So we're just kind of observing that this week to see how that goes. So pretty interesting stuff. There's some news out there too about the shutting down all air travel in the United States, as well as talk of even closing the stock market down, closing down Wall Street, which could happen. They did it last time they did it was after 9/11. They closed it down for a week, but at that time too, they closed it down because Wall Street was in New York, and it was in shambles right at the time. So it should be interesting, right? So we'll see. We need to keep a track this week. I think it'd be interesting if things get really bad. And I think if we probably hit like a 20% halt, right? We have our 7%, our 13% halts. We've seen those, but we haven't seen a level 3 halt where we're down 20%. I would imagine after that 20% halt, the president might step in and be like, hey, let's shut the markets down, right? I mean, because already, right, we're seeing if we're below the 2016 lows here, which are the next ones coming. Right, if you can see, let me increase this a little bit here. So if we go back here, right, we can see the next levels down, right, are these essentially these 2016 lows, right, and that would basically take out all the gains that happened during the current administration, and that would probably would warrant a reason to halt the markets altogether. So we really need to keep an eye on those levels. And I know they seem kind of far away, like 2,000. It's only 300 away, but we've been seeing 100-point candles pretty quickly, so we could easily see, a quick drop down to those levels, and then we have to see how those hold. So, 2,000 is a big deal. 1,800 is the next kind of major level right there. So it's pretty wild that we're even talking about this, but it's possible, right? All this stuff is possible, especially when the volatility is as high as it is. Let's take a look real quick at the price action again on Friday. So we can see here, they tried to buy the dip right here at the 15 orb low, right? We had a big push down, we came back up, right? Inside 15 down and the double inside 15 down, right? And then finally this inside 15 doji led us all the way to those lows on Friday, right? These are the levels that we provide to our members before each market open, and these are very, very important levels to use, right? We can see here on, let's go back to March, right? So we can see here on the March 20th levels right here, right? Friday's levels. So you can see how important these levels are to us, right? So with the S1 right here, you can see how well these levels get tested, right? Back and forth, down to these levels, try to hold, and then it didn't quite get as low as these S2 levels. But we're definitely tracking these going into this week. So let's take a look at the S&P futures and see how they're holding up this morning. So we're down, well, they're trying to rally a little bit. Actually, it'd be pretty cool if they limited it up overnight, but they definitely, or not limited, it could happen, they could limit it up, but see if they try to bring it up a little bit. A couple things right here, right? We're kind of getting this broke out of this little triangle right here just a few minutes ago, so it's working its way up here a little bit, but they're definitely, the algos I think have realized that if they stay halted they can't make money overnight, right? So I think they're trying to defend these levels a little bit, so we'll see if they're making a little bit of some moves here, but we're seeing a lot of fast down moves to get out of there. So kind of keep an eye on that if you're looking at futures tonight, look for setups to the downside as they try to retest these levels, but don't get caught, right, with a stuck at a halt down overnight, because anything could happen at the open tomorrow. So we're going to keep an eye on those. Okay. So good. So this week we're going to be talking about starting a new series here on day trading. This week we're going to talk about pre-market data, and so this is a nice tool. We use this in our group a lot, where we use the highs and lows of the pre-market. So what is it? What is the pre-market data? So the pre-market data is everything that happens before the market open, right? There's the aftermarket data and the pre-market data. Sometimes you could combine the two, but this week we're going to focus mostly on the pre-market stuff. And so the pre-market data, we get a lot of that with obviously if the futures are running into the open, we can see that, but we also like to use that on SPY, and a lot of our stocks, they gap up. You get news pre-market. This is where the gaps come from, right? So if a stock gaps up, the next day the market makers a lot of times will push it up. If there's not a lot of data there, they'll just they'll mark it up based on a percentage of what the market is doing, things like that. But what the high and low of the pre-market is very, very important levels, right? So you can see here on the SPY, right? We had this level on Friday. Right, and we have this level right here. So these are your highs and your lows of your pre-market. You can see how important these levels are. And if you're day trading, it's important to keep track of them, right? So because they make major levels of support and potential support and resistance, and if they're held or if they're not, right, they can give us nice setups intraday to use, right? So we have our 15 orb, that's a key level, right? So we have our first 15 minutes, right, in the day, 1, 2, 3 right here. So we had our 15 orb level right here, right? We like the 15 orbs, right? So we can see here, for instance, on SPY, right, we held the 15 orb lows, but we also held the pre-market lows, right? This candle got through those levels nicely. and we came back up here, and the 15 orb low, the 15 orb high ended up being resistance. We came back down all the pre-market levels, retested them, right, and gave a nice shooting star candle back here to push down for the rest of the day. So these levels are very, very important to look at. So let's take a look at a few examples and show how they can be used. One is at the open. Right, at the open, these can serve as potential breakout levels. Right, if we push through a key level where there was resistance pre-market, sometimes we see that opportunity to move higher. So if we go back to Thursday, where there's a little bit of bullishness in Roku, and we do see this in other stocks too, like Zoom and things like that. We like to track these, right? So here's your actually, this was the pre-market levels here. This is your aftermarket high, so we can even incorporate those as well. So I just have that here too. But your pre-market high was right here as well. So you get a nice breakout level through here, right? And then we finally push above the aftermarket highs here and give a nice move to the upside. So pre-market, aftermarket levels, if they're tight like this, you can use them both. If there's a big range between them, they can get a little bit more complex. But you can see here, just getting through these levels, we got a nice push to the upside on Roku, and you can see what happened is we came back and retested those levels, held as support, and came back up and held them again, right? And you can see here, right? So these levels were pretty intense right here as well. So you can this gives you a concept of where the buying pressure was from the market makers pre-market, right? You can see here how important those levels were on Roku on Friday, right? The pre-market highs served as a very, very good resistance level here intraday, where you can find a potential reversal point, especially if there's a candlestick setup that makes sense, right? So you can see here on the 15-minute chart, we had a nice upper shadow, right, and then a bearish candle right here that broke down the trend line and gave you a nice move down for the rest of the day. And look where you found support 2 times on Friday at those pre-market lows here, right, and here. So you had a nice reversal candle right here, almost a Morningstar reversal, right, worked its way up nicely off of that. Off of this one right here, certainly closer to the open, a very, very sharp move to the upside. So those levels really, really do come in play and are important ones to keep track of if you're day trading. Tesla is another example here. Okay, so let's see here. So Tesla this day, right, your pre-market highs here, right? We chopped around a little bit between the pre-market high and lows was last Thursday. We chopped around between these levels here at the open, right? We've formed the 15 orb high and low, and look what these give sometimes a very, very nice momentum move through those levels once they blow through wherever the market makers were trying to keep it pre-market. And then it gave a really huge move here from 380 all the way up to 434, so almost a 50-point move through the pre-market high, right? And you can see here, you pre-market levels right here, right? You had these, that was held, right? And so, and these pre-market levels here, this low served as pretty good support. So a lot of times these first candles, we'll talk about it later, you know, but we call these like carrier candles, and these can give you, sometimes these can be ignored because this just shows you, it's like, sometimes they're too big to even be retested, but with volatility as high as it is, they still can, right? But here's your pre-market high right here, and you can see we got a nice bounce off of that, a nice momentum move through here from 459, right, all the way to 466, so a 7-point move there, a retest of those levels, another candle to give another pop to the upside, and then once we got below here, we see a couple of upper shadows right here that then worked its way down to test some other intraday levels as well. So these are good levels to keep on your charts and to kind of keep in mind. And there's a lot of other cool stuff too that the pre-market levels do for us. We're going to talk about those this week. But the highs and lows are very, very important levels of potential support and resistance intraday, and definitely ones to pay attention to, you know, for the stocks that you like to trade. So good stuff. Hopefully you guys found that helpful. At this point, if anybody has any questions or chart requests, please feel free to plug those in the chat window, and we'll get through as many as we can and try to wrap up as early as possible so we can all get a good night's sleep and have an awesome trading day tomorrow. So we'll see what we have in store for tomorrow. If we limit down, you know, into the morning, then we'll probably see another quick flush at the open and then be halted for 15 minutes, and then we'll see what they have in store. A lot of the things we've been seeing with the halts in the open is a quick push down and then a reversal lower shadow off of that, and then a move to the upside, right? So, and then it all depends where it goes there. A lot of times it's only like 1 or 2, 3 candles, even on the 1-minute chart, maybe 3 minutes up, and then it starts to work its way back down again, and then we have to look for that 13% level too to kind of go from there. So good. All right. Well, I got a few chart requests in. Cherry sent me a few. Oh, looks like Shirley sent some in too. I just got that. Give me a second one here. Let me get those up. And let's see, those look good. Okay, good. Thank you, Shirley. Okay, so here's Shirley's chart ideas. Okay, let's get to the daily charts and see how things are setting up on the intraday time frame. So Cherry sent a few in. So we have TDOC. So TDOC's a good one. This has been, you know, really popular. I liked Cherry's tonight. She sent in a few that these are ones that, you know, that could have been showing some at least relative strength recently because they've been good Corona plays, that makes sense during this crazy Corona market. So TDoc is one of them, right? So Teladoc, they are a telehealth company, right? So they deliver on-demand healthcare anytime, anywhere. So obviously very important when a lot of hospitals are trying to prevent people from coming in, especially if you're feeling sick. They can help diagnose it over the over the internet or whatever the case is there, and try to keep contamination from spreading to larger hospital systems where emergency care may be needed, right? So pretty cool stuff. We've been seeing a lot of green moves right there, but we're also seeing the fast pullbacks on those, just kind of like your Guild and things like that, and we'll take a look at that in a minute. So right now, unfortunately, on Friday, I did give an upper shadow, but these are interesting ones to look at for potential intraday moves. Another one is Zoom, right? ZM. So Zoom has been, a go-to Corona play too. It's been giving a lot of nice intraday moves, some strong candles right here, but it's tough to really swing these because we see sometimes we see a big red day, sometimes we gap up and we reverse really quickly. So this is kind of more of a momentum intraday type stock, but we do see that the pre-market levels do come into play a lot. So for example, from our discussion this morning, right, we could see here, this pre-market level here was important for a move up, came back, retested it a bunch of times, right, and worked its way up. So here we can see when the pre-market levels correspond with our 15 orb highs, when the highs correspond with the 15 orb highs, a lot of times those can give you a nice move out of there too. So you can see this candle was a good 3-point move out of that area. So Zoom is interesting. Again, it's tough too on the daily because of the upper shadows and kind of a spinning top, but a lot of folks are telecommuting using Zoom for work. So that's a good one to keep an eye on there. I know they've been overwhelmed, and it's not just work. A lot of clubs, like some of our members have mentioned, talking about their kids taking karate lessons where they used to go out with it. Now they're doing it all through Zoom. So it's definitely getting its use, and I would assume their next earnings report would probably be pretty good. United Natural Foods, yeah, a lot of these like kind of grocery store names, food delivery names like APRN, right, Blue Apron, things like that are getting pretty stronger here. So here's your UNFI is interesting. Nice candle on Friday. I like the lower shadow off of the ADMA, so look for some potential follow through of the upside on that one. Kroger. Kroger's been kind of a big go-to one. You can see how crazy it's been since earnings. Right, this is a recent Warren Buffett idea. We had a kind of a crazy bull flag forming here. We sort of broke out of. It's been tricky, right, and especially tough to hold. But we're seeing some intraday moves on things like Kroger, Walmart, stuff like that. Place where people are basically raiding the shelves, and this is kind of one of your go-to grocery plays right here. Of course, Walmart as well that you mentioned, right? So we have those ones, and then Guild is any these vaccine companies have had some strength too. So Guild can give a couple good moves, but then it can give some nasty pullbacks too when they say maybe they're looking for vaccines elsewhere, right? So we've seen those type of pullbacks happen too. So to be careful with that. The volatility is really high, guys, and it's tough to hold anything overnight. But some of these ones give some nice intraday trades if you keep an eye on them. So Mrs. Wartsoff, what's going on? Let's take a look at MRVL. Thanks for tuning in. Good to see you. So pretty nice candle right here, a bit of a Morningstar reversal, right? We tried to push off of it on Friday, and then we had this upper shadow here below the 8 EMA. So right now, right, this is our trend line, right? So we can see this right here. We just haven't confirmed above these levels yet. So at this point, we want to confirm above Friday's high bullishly with an increase in volume, and then we could possibly start to work our way back up to the 50 moving average, 200 moving average from the cloud. So those are definitely on the radar there. So that looks like it has some potential. Dylan, what's going on? Are you able to post the YouTube video that goes with the newsletter on the private Twitter for easy access? Yeah, it's on there. I posted it this morning. Absolutely. I always announce in the morning when the newsletter's been sent, and I always post the video. Did it not get posted this morning? Oh, goodness. I'm sorry, guys. It didn't get posted this morning. Weird. I had it. Give me 1 second. Give me 2 seconds, guys. Let me make sure that goes out there. Sorry, guys. I had it. I thought I'd posted. I just never clicked the tweet button. Give me 1 second. Got it right here. Thank you for reminding me on that. Of course, it's in the newsletter. Good grief. That's usually posted first. I never hit tweet this morning. Give me 1 second. Let's do that now before I forget. Awesome. Okay, that's posted. Thank you, Dylan. I apologize about that. Okay. Good stuff. All right. Yeah, thank you for reminding me. It's year 2 of the newsletter, so I'm like, so excited. Just forgot to post it. All right, good stuff. Or didn't click it. I mean, I had it ready. Just clicked it now. Okay, good stuff. Reed, what's going on? Thanks for tuning in. HST, let's take a look. Yeah. So host hotels. So if any of these companies that start to have good news, like where there's increased people using their hotels abroad and all that stuff, you can see they'll start to rally, right? And so again, a lot of these hotels and things like that, are kind of maybe part of the bailout type stuff with airlines, things like that. So we did get out of this lower trend line on Friday. Now it's all important for us to close above Friday's highs with some good volume, right? To see if we can work our way back up on that one. So that we'll keep an eye on that one for sure. And then SPY. Okay, so SPY, just like the SPX that we looked at earlier, right? We're still below this micro trend line right here. The macro one we're still below as well. And Friday's close was pretty rough, right? So we took the inside day down. We had some increased volume with a very bearish candle. So obviously, with the futures down as they are now, we would expect to get some follow through to the downside on that one. So, but look here, keep an eye on these trend lines. Again, we'll start to know when we're ready to reverse once we start confirming above these trend lines and working our way up. Now, we could see something crazy going on. I don't know what they would have up their sleeves to get these things going up. Maybe, great numbers of like recoveries and things like that. And we can start seeing some really big green candles on the way up, right? So we remember back from the Christmas reversal of 2018, we saw some pretty heavy candles back then that we hadn't seen before. I mean, now every day like these candles are 200 points, but back then we see a 100-point candle. That's something big. So maybe we'll see a 400-point candle or something like that to be like, maybe it's time to get out of these downward trend lines. So we're gonna keep an eye on that too. But I don't know what they'd have up their sleeve other than some miraculous cure type thing or a huge increase of recoveries, right? So we heard, was it Rand Paul, Senator Rand Paul just got corona, and Germany's Angela Merkel was exposed or was with a doctor who's has corona. So once all these like kind of high profile people start demonstrating recovery, right, we may start to see things improve, right? So that's it could be kind of like a heads up if we start catching that stuff. So good stuff. ZEK, what's going on? Good evening. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, let's take a look at RAD. RAD's another go-to one too, because this would be considered an essential business, right? It's a pharmacy, just like your CVS, right? Your Walgreens. So this is a big one right here. It's really come a long way since it hit the 200-day moving average off of this hammer, right? And then had a huge candle here through the cloud with increased volume. Got some nice follow through to the upside on that one, even though it gapped down, and then pushed even higher. Now we have an inside day over this, so let's see if we can break that inside day to the upside tomorrow if it wants to be strong. If not, we've got the ADMA, we got the cloud right here if it does try to break to the downside. So see if those hold. Bank of America. Okay, so the banks are kind of hanging in there, right? We've got this trend line right here. It's a little bit off. Let's see. So there. So there's your downward trend line right here. We're still below that. If we got kind of really tight on this way, you could do this trend line right here. We just need to close above these levels, bullishly, and then get above this trend line here and try to work its way back up on that. Otherwise, bearish until proven otherwise. And then USO. So oil's about flat here this evening. We're about, just in general on the futures. So we're inside day on Friday. We have this crazy, we got all these big trend lines right here. So it's got some work to do to get its way back up, but it's certainly after it hit $4, it started to get some big volume as they're trying to at least hold some of these penny levels right here. So we'll see if it gets above that. We have inside day here. If we can close above maybe this breakout pivot right here, which is 567. If we can close above that bullishly with some good volume, we might be able to work our way up to the next trend line up. Great stuff. Thank you. Sneak, what's going on? Good evening. What'd you miss? Not much. How are those futures looking? So we're down 92 points right here. Like I said, they're trying to hold that 2174 level so the algos could at least make a little bit of money tonight. But just be careful if you're shorting. You don't want to get caught in a halt if you're in the downside. So we've got that going on there. So yeah, lots of stuff going on. Heather, good evening. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. Hope you're doing great. Stacy, hello. Hope you had a good weekend. Good to see you. Ernesto, good evening. Shirley, okay, yeah, so we've got a couple charts here from Shirley. So we've got T, okay, so AT&T. Interesting, right? So we're having, all these companies are really getting hit right now. So AT&T, I know they recently asked all their 245,000 employees to work from home. And then from there, I think they decided, on like Thursday or Friday, that they're not going to be able to pay out dividends, I believe, or reduce their dividends, whatever the case is. So they took a pretty nasty hit on Friday. That is holding one of our fib fan lines, but below Friday's low, could see some more downside on that. Apple, of course, nasty close on Friday. This was actually one of the worst candles of all the go-to names. The prior day, right, we had an upper shadow off of the 200-day moving average, and once we pushed below those levels here and these levels here, we just kept on going to the downside. So huge volume on Friday and a really nasty candle. The only saving grace with Apple right now is its macro trend line from the December lows, right, from the January, December lows right here. So here's your macro trend line right here, this one, and we're really close to that. And so let's see if that holds. If it doesn't, we've got a pitchfork level way down here below 200, so like the 190s to 200-ish level. So keep an eye on that one. Coke is normally a go-to one if the market is weak, but they're struggling just like everybody else. So big push down there. We are holding. It did come to an old fib fan line. Let's take a look and see where that was. Old fib fan line, right, from this high to this low. But we are testing those levels right now. We'll see if those hold. If not, we've got kind of the next levels below on that one. So yeah, nasty candle on Friday. Lots of ugly candles on Friday. Let's take a look. PFE. PFE's been tricky, right? So it had these areas of chop right here where it looked like they were helping out with the coronavirus, like they were working with Guild and all this other stuff. They just haven't been buying it, like all these other ones too, like Triple M. Just haven't been buying these things, right? So really, this is where you go. That's why I drew these line right here. It's like, let's close above these levels with some increased volume to see if we can at least get up to the next trend line. And we haven't been able to do that, right? So we've come down 2 days in a row. Nasty candle here, back below the downward trend line. So, very possible for downside follow through on that one. In fact, I like that one so much, I want to put it on the game plan because it's a reasonably priced stock where you can actually get some okay options on it sometimes, even with this volatility. So we'll look at that one as a potential. So we'll keep PFE on there. PFE, yeah, Mickey D's is another one too. That's a pretty rough chart too. We talked about in the newsletter this weekend. And then MO. Let's take a look there. Okay, so MO, yeah, nasty candle on Friday. It's got dividend coming up too. It closed below. This recent pivot level right here with some nasty volume and a nasty candle. I think they came out and said too that they're closing some of their operations. Can't remember, like at their Richmond office or whatever the case is. So keep an eye on that one too. Just nasty stuff there. Tony, what's going on? Thanks for tuning in. Let's take a look at Roku. Roku, good. Inside candle here, trying to work its way up. We're still below this downward trend line on this one. So again, Roku's been beat up, kind of more than a lot of other ones. This has kind of been on our short radar anyways, as the trend has started to kind of work its way down. Choppy. It was after this earnings, actually a good earnings, and then just worked its way back down off of that one, and just hasn't really been able to get itself up. So again, we're closing the doji right here at the downward trend line. I mean, if we do happen to be strong tomorrow, it could give you a doji sandwich up, but chances are it could be a reversal doji off of the downward trend line right there. So you can kind of even look at this as a channel here. So if it did push down and we brought this channel down a little bit farther, right? We might see Roku go as low as like this kind of 44-ish level, just depending on the time frame. So let's see how Roku handles those areas. And then Uber. Uber. Okay, so yeah, Uber we looked at as some potential follow through, right? So we like the Morningstar reversal here. This is one of our big, high probability reversal candle setups, right? And so we had red candle here, real body that closed with this real candle, green candle that closed above 50% of the range of this one. In fact, the real body closed above the entire candle as well. And then we had a nice gap up on Friday, except they couldn't hold it, right? And we're back below the 8 EMA on this one. So keep an eye on Uber. They're doing stuff. Uber and Lyft are doing stuff to kind of help out society a little bit, right? They're using their their drivers to help deliver medical supplies and devices, things like that. You're also seeing Uber Eats, right, as people aren't going out, right, and they want to get some deliveries. But again, it's really tough because their core business is obviously affected by it, and a lot of people aren't ride sharing right now. So it's kind of in a tough situation. But I do like how a lot of these companies are trying to help out, combat the virus. So that's so good stuff on Uber there. So look for some potential, especially if the market wants to get strong. Because once people start ride sharing again, right, this thing will be ready to go. So definitely keep this one as a long-term concept once things start to get better. Tracy, good evening. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, let's take a look at Shop. So Shop below macro trend line, right? We have this micro trend line right here. It is trying to get above it, right? So it gave a little bit of a move right here. It's just not confirming, right? So I think a close above, Friday's highs with some good volume could give us a chance to get up to that level, and then a close above that, right, could get us try to work its way up to the cloud. Otherwise, watch this watch these trend lines here. So if we do put a fresh low in, that'll shift the trend line down, and again, the trend will continue to remain down on that one until proven otherwise. CMG struggling too, restaurant stock, right? I think they do have delivery options through like DoorDash and stuff like that, but it's they're no stranger to viruses, right? They get, what was it, the Nova viruses in their stores a lot and all that stuff. Big doji candle right here off of the downward trend line, so some potential for downside reversal on CMG. Just crazy spreads on this thing, so just be careful with that. Lulu has had some relative strength recently, right? They had a big move on Friday to the upside, and they just got some gap resistance right here and came down off of that. It's like right at its EMA right now. Again, here's a good example of your pre-market levels. We noticed this in our group on Friday, right? Nice push through those pre-market levels and a big move up, double inside 15 up that way. So a big move up on Lulu, but they couldn't hold it as they came back into its 15 orb range right there. So that's why you have right here this upper shadow. So again, it's trying, right? It's trying, just not quite there yet. So AVGO, let's take a look. So AVGO, right, nice little upper shadows here right at the ADMA. A little bit of weakness right here. So I think if it broke down below Friday's lows, you might see another push. Maybe it'll test 50% of that candle, possibly the scene of the breakout on that one too. So above it, right, if it could close above it, we do have this this kind of trend line going on right here. Right, so if it closes above Friday's highs, right, we might see it start to work its way up. Good stuff. Yeah, my pleasure. Reed, yeah, GLD, let's take a look. GLD, right, these ones have been pretty tough right here. Right? For the most part, a lot of folks are just trying to be in cash. That's why you're not seeing the precious metals move as much in the down market. But, watch these things eventually for a breakout, especially if things start to get worse. Right? People are really going to want to look for safe assets to put their money in. Right? So kind of keep an eye on that one too. Andrew, what's going on? Just subscribe to Positive Trends. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, we'll just give me, once we're done here, I'll send a welcome email out and all that stuff. But really appreciate you joining. Thank you. Tony, awesome. Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for tuning in. Good stuff, guys. Great charts tonight. Again, guys, just take it easy here with the market. It's going to be very interesting. The volatility is still high, right? We're still seeing, we're still seeing a lot of big moves, right? If you're not comfortable trading options in this stuff, just, it's okay to kind of stay on the sidelines until this market starts to stabilize again. And wait for that volatility, right, to get back down below 30 once things start to get a little bit better, right? And they could look for some, stronger setups, things like that. There's some good day trade action out there. You just have to be very, very precise and have to be, a little bit looser, like basically less contracts and looser with the stops in a way because the spreads are so big, right? So if you're used to doing a 50-cent stop on Roku, you can't do that anymore because that's the spreads, right? This is the spreads on Zoom, things like that. So definitely caution out there, but there's going to be setups, and eventually this market is going to work its way back up. We're going to get through this virus stuff, and we're all going to everything's going to be great, right? It's going to be great. So, but in the meantime, we have to respect the trend and look for setups, right? So that work with the trend. So that's the concept right there, and also be look out for big algo moves and big news because we're news driven too. So good stuff. Well, I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Thank you for the awesome chart request. If you're new here, definitely click subscribe on YouTube, and also hit the like button. We always appreciate that. And check out the links in the description, and really appreciate everybody. Hope everybody has a wonderful evening. Get some rest, right? Stay healthy out there, and remember your risk first and stay safe so you can stay in the game. And I'll talk to you guys soon. And thank you.